So this is Olivia. I've got further details on this build on my website, and I'll put the link below. But in the meantime, here's sort of an abbreviated version of this prop build. Olivia started as a bust, like a Barbie kind of bust that I found at a Value Village. I'm sure they can be found new at toy stores, but I found mine at Value Village, and since I've actually found two others in different thrift shops, so I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard to track down. I guess little girls use these to learn how to tie ponytails and things like that. First step was to remove the eyelashes because they weren't very scary, and then I created this sort of wound in the head using an X-Acto knife. This is very soft rubber we're dealing with here. I wanted the smile to go away, so I removed the lower lip and worked on the details by adding a epoxy sculpt, which is one of my favorite materials. It's a two-part material that you mix together, and then within a couple hours it becomes very hard plastic. So I used it to fill in the gap of the wound and to smooth out the features of the face, the now lipless face. And also, since this is one of those dolls where you tip it back and the eyes close, I disabled that feature by building up around the eyes, which also hid the seam of the eyes. So did a lot of smoothing using water to make that all those features seamless. Then I glued the head back onto the sculpture and covered up that seam with more epoxy sculpt, so it looked like one solid piece. Then I used my X-Acto blade to cut these little channels, not all the way through the rubber, but these little sort of, if you looked at it profile, these little triangular grooves and a sort of jagged pattern all over the face. The bottom part, the shoulder part of the bust is hard plastic, whereas the top is rubber, so I scratched in marks on the bottom part. Then taped up the eyes and gave it all a big coating of rubber or plastic friendly spray paint. Once that was done, I found that it was quite tacky because you're painting on top of rubber and that really doesn't ever take paint properly, but I put some matte finish on top of that to make the surface more workable. And then I had to do something about the hair, so I used Saddle Tan Gel Antique Stain that you can get from Tandy Leather, tip via Alan Hops, Stiltby Studios. Wore some rubber gloves and basically ran my fingers through the hair as much as possible to change the color of it. Then it was time for latex so that the hair didn't look so neat and tidy. I would basically put a little into my tray with popsicle sticks and then start working it into the hair to give it a messy feel. Actually, by the end I realized the best technique was to start with the lower layers of hair first and kind of brush upward strokes with the brush to get it as messy and mangled as possible, and then eventually you're left with something like this. Then it was time to paint. We used various colors and sponged them on, knowing that later on I would apply Gel Antique Stain again to get into the recesses that I had carved and to give it an overall kind of dirty look. And then dry brushed on lighter colors and then dabbled on some black and green around the face just to make it look strange. And then removed the tape around the eyes, and this is Olivia. She's a very spooky looking prop. She just sits there on a shelf, but she has the tendency to look like she's staring back at you, and it's a little unsettling. Like this prop, I'm probably going to make a few more of them this year and put them all together. But that's the basic technique for a very simple prop. You can make it in an afternoon, not counting, well, I guess counting dry time maybe a little bit longer. But that's Olivia. Hope you enjoy and try making yourself. Again, look on my website. The link's below, bradblogsby.com, and there's a link on the top left for Halloween, for all kinds of Halloween posts that I've done. But if not, I'll just leave a link at the bottom of this, and you can take a look for yourself. Thanks a lot.